Rarity Level 1, Overlooked. False Windows versions. Windows never released are obviously filled with content containing false Microsoft Windows versions. However, Windows never released videos are created with good and fair intentions, as majority of the fan-made Windows versions are created just for fun and for entertaining purposes. Windows concepts. Prior to the release of Windows 8, Windows 10 and Windows 11, there was Windows concepts, created by digital artists and designers across the internet. The popularity are peaking with the Windows 9 and Windows 11 rumors. That before Windows 11 was an internet myth, its concepts was overdone, as Windows enthusiasts wanted to share their vision about the next major Windows release. Windows Longhorn. Microsoft Windows codename Longhorn was the version after XP, but because it was laggy and unstable, Microsoft spent 5 years of development for Windows Vista. Fake Longhorn sounds. The fake sounds for Windows Longhorn could be traced as far back in 2000s, as Russian custom-built Zvertensverd made and used these sounds for Windows XP. You may found these sounds on fan-made Royal Remixed, Longhorn Reloaded or Vista Inspirat themes. The point is, fake Longhorn sounds found their place on Windows never released community. Windows never released. Windows never released, abbreviated to WNR, is a cult started by JHJ22 in 2008. It is where people make fictional Windows boot screens and, rarely, desktop-using programs such as Photoshop or Paint and often compile them into videos. WNR is notably worsened in 2018-19 after several Aeroians and Manderians quit making WNR videos. It became even worse in 2020 and 2021, following Windows mockups, Cold War and other conflicts, on which it affected productivity of several prominent members. It gets worse when some people steal other works for their Windows never released type of collections. Windows 9. It's an speculated preliminary name for Windows 10. Back when it was just rumors, Windows enthusiasts loved to see it. It became a part of Manderia's Windows history with never released versions. Windows 11. Back before Windows 11 was an internet myth, its concepts was overdone, as Windows enthusiasts wanted to share their vision about the next major Windows release. Windows never released was not an exception of making Windows 11 concepts. One of the people who made Windows 11 concepts was Manderia for his Windows history with never released versions. He predicted Windows 11 in 2016, setting to be released in 2018. However, in 2017, he uploaded Windows history with never released versions update 5, as he made about the idea of Windows 11, scheduled to be released in 2021. That means update 5 aging well, doesn't it? Progress bar 95. Ah yes, Progress bar 95. It's similar to the design and behaving as the Aeroian Windows ideas. Progress bar 95 is a great game if we ignore ads and grinding. Requires several days to pass Progress bar's systems and several weeks to get every bar's versions. Add an operating systems concepts. This channel has some great Windows concepts, macOS concepts, iOS concepts, some Android concepts. He even has a concept of Spotify, MSN Messenger and YouTube. It is an OS mockups but driven on visual directions. Windows 96, Nashville. At some time, Microsoft considered to develop their project, Nashville. However, this project has been scrapped in favor of Windows 98 Cottenham, Memphis. Rarity Level 2, extremely common. Windows, Memphis. Speaking of Memphis, Windows 98 pre-release artworks is glorious, and thus, you can see at least one Windows never released video containing Windows Memphis' boot screen and desktop, all thanks by the memorable design and artwork. Windows 98 betas are worth checking. Windows Expert. Probably one of the most recognizable Windows never released maker on the internet. However, his videos are criticized by legacy content makers for being unrealistic and poorly made. Windows idea out of cartoon character. It is a popular demand for Arsini fans. And since Arsini is an influential content maker, it's no surprise for it to be here. Windows ideas in general. An idea of fictional Windows versions, coming up as a Windows name, the year of release, the sounds, and that's it. Some exceptions may happen by non-existence of a year information, the explanations, if the Windows version is 9X or NT, or better yet, a whole story behind the specific Windows version. It all may sound confusing, but it's worth trying to explain the Windows ideas concept. Windows never released veterans. Veteran is a term given by WNR, creator who has contributed on the community for a long time. It was implied that the user should create WNR series before Manderia come up with WHWNRV or its update 5 to become a veteran. If the user joined OSM community in 2016 and before, they would be proclaimed as a veteran. This term was popularized in 2018 or 2019 to distinguish legacy Windows never released or Windows mockups creators against Manderians and Chromaticans. Veterans usually have in-depth and realistic Microsoft-style mockups, and Chromaticans usually have more artistic style and neo-Manderian future vision. Windows 97. Back into Memphis development, its final name are speculated to be Windows 97 until it was proven to be false. But for Windows never released community, Windows 97 was an essential part of their imagination, else it got overused quickly. Windows never released Wiki. Despite spy unclear's text-based Windows never released series, getting released in 2015 on Igramani Wiki, there wasn't a standalone wiki for Windows concepts until on 2016. Fiendism made Windows never released wiki on May 27, 2016, however it not moderated on the rest of TENS. This wiki eventually gets adopted by Firestarter and Catback in 2021. Windows never released wiki is the most popular encyclopedia of Windows concepts ever since the TENS. Windows Concepts over Windows Millennium Edition XP 95, 7 pre-releases and Windows Vista. It's probably a complicated thing to explain. It is common to see Windows 9X mockups, and as mentioned before Windows XP versions. And yet, back in 2000s, there was concepts over Windows Vista and 7. If you remember those fan-made Blackham/V in a circle, you'll know the point. Startup and shutdown sounds. It is common to only have startup and shutdown sounds for Windows, with some exceptions like login, logoff, and error sounds. Boot splash is called boot screen. That's some Windows never released community slang with an unknown for us origins. Probably spoken on the web sometimes before our community adopts the boot screen word for boot splash screens. Windows NT Dozen Workstation. It is an old Windows NT 4.0 workstation mockup, mocking Microsoft, Windows, and Internet Explorer. It depicts Windows flag and Internet Explorer 4 banner on flame. Rarity level 3, very common. JHJ22. This user is considered to be the grandfather of Windows Never Released and creator of former most viewed WMR video on YouTube. He calls his own videos Never Released Windows versions. First video is created in December 5, 2008. Second video is created in December 12, 2008, which is now classic. Normal Cat. Despite the controversy surrounding on this user since 2020, an ex-guy was well known for Windows Never Released 9 and prior episodes, as this happened that Normal Cat joined the community in 2013 and has been actively involved on Windows Never Released on 2015 up to 2019 with the episode 12 or 4. Normal Cat's recent Windows concept compilation are either called Windows Never Released 12 and Windows Mockups 4. Normal Cat was popular WMR maker on mid-10s. After then, it's a thing of 2019. At least Norm contributed to the community since 2013 up to the said year 2019. Occasionally, Norm still visits Windows Never Released community. The past of WMR. The period of Windows Never Released before 2016 are tended to be glorified, however part of it is true, as there was little to no dramas back before 2016, and Windows concepts wasn't seen to be rushed. Manderia, Chromatic and Santucci wasn't a part of this community, and the only toxicity was aimed towards Valley Gene. The videos out of WMR. As a part of the community, YouTube videos out of Windows become a common part of Windows Never Released community. We're making a video out of Windows Never Released community, ain't that an irony? Legacy videos. The Windows Never Released video made prior to 2016 and the first appearance of Manderia's Windows Never Released videos can be considered as the legacy videos made by now known veterans. Manderians. They were a big deal back in 2017 and 2018, before Chromaticans took their places. Manderia's style made a big influence to Windows Never Released community, occupying a lot of space as there wasn't any independent content creators out there. However, Manderian style or Manderian content creators isn't common as of 2021, either because there is a better alternatives like Project Toy Terrier or because the community became more foreign and toxic. Russians. The Russians found their way to Windows Never Released community as they seem to be very popular among non-Russian Windows Never Released fans. Even if they making videos orientated for English-speaking viewers, we can easily identify them as the Russians by looking at the Wikis and their own YouTube channels. The most popular Russians out there is Arson54800, Spyonclear and Vladislav. Windows Never Released community. Speaking on the community itself, it's considered to be developed in the mid-10s, as the communication between Windows concept creators can be seen on Discord, YouTube, and Google+. On 2016 and 2017, the communities within the community are formed, thus dividing everyone. We're talked about Manderians, but there is more to speak about later. Manderia's culture. Well, we are already talked about Manderians. Probably when the OP added this section, OP thought Manderia is VIP among Manderians, and so the culture is formed. Manderia called his original characters as Manderians, rather than his own followers. However, his own followers can be considered as the part of Manderia's culture, and better yet, Manderiaos can be considered as the part of his culture too, as it was his Windows-based operating system, for the sake of his fandom. Arson54800. This person had almost 4,000 subscribers before his account getting terminated. He was, or still is, a very influential Windows never-released content maker, and he even may be responsible for popularizing never-released operating systems and Slicer never-released. He might manage to quickly regain his power. He is a pacifist, as he tends to ignore most of negativism and hate. But he is also Manderian, on which he's criticized for. The way he's making Windows videos is impressive yet alarming, as these videos is on poor quality, made with 2012 freeware software. Windows never-released community members are younger than Windows Vista. We are aware about some community members are born in 2005 and earlier. But yet it's fascinating to think about Generation Alpha children are watching Windows never-released videos. Looks like the young audience loves Windows-related videos, and because of that, it is common to see a community member born in late 2000s or early 10s. Never-released operating system. If we would create a Windows never-released video, but there is non-Windows operating systems concepts and mockups would be shown, like Unix and Slicer, we would call it never-released operating system. That's how these said videos are called since 2017. Windows never released exceeding 100 episodes. Arson 54800, Dima's alternative account on ENG channel, are a few people who owns their series exceeding 100 episodes. Windows XP Smiley Edition. It happens that this idea is JHJ22's introduction, part of his never-released Windows versions. Windows 93. By Windows 93, it means a website parodying Microsoft Windows 95 and mocking the 90s in general. It's a popular parody, and Windows enthusiasts love it. It can look like a Windows mockup. Windows 1.11 Stranger Things 3, advertising for a minute. You could think it's yet another Windows never-released idea until you'll discover it was a promotional app for Windows 10 by Microsoft for the said Netflix show by the Duffer Brothers. The late 2010s of WNR community. It was so weird and chaotic, you could make a novel out of it. Just think about it, a battle of Arrow Discord members against Manderians, evolving into Intermanderian dramas, causing to the Tartarian-Manderian War, and later on there was several another Intermanderian dramas, leading to Manderian Chromatican War, and on 2020s we're having even more conflicts. WNR community doesn't want to chill at least for a year. Windows never released as a series. With that mentioned before, WNR content makers tends to make series out of Windows never released. On rare occasions, they would make seasons out of tens of Windows never released videos. Windows history with never released versions, all thanks by Manderia. These videos are happened. It was a unique concept to merge real Windows versions with fictional ones and make it in date order. A few people followed Manderia on that trend, and so we have hundreds of these videos, including Cosmo Squares ones. The existence of Arrow community. Old videos are mentioning the Arrow community. It was a public Discord server before getting privated thanks by children's. It became a Supreme Windows never released server before being deleted. Who knows what we'll find about it. IBM US/2. This operating system's popularity within our community can be credited to Manderians, as they got interested to OS/2 and made an extended history over this operating system. OS/2 is more popular than a whole Unix operating system family for Windows never released community, which sounds quite questionable. Manderia's. It was one of the most popular fictional operating system alongside with OS-ready powers. Rarity level 4, common. Misbehaving on Discord. Your favorite mockups creator are being nice on Discord? Very well, we don't want to ruin this vision for now, and we'll just say you may have to trust your favorite people, but cut the cards. Arsenians. To differ Arseni's followers from the other Manderians, they are choosing to be called Arsenians until they're just called back as Manderians. For future Windows ideas, you can see how Windows would look like in literally quinquagesima years later, and that's it. Just apply some effects, some primitive Microsoft Windows logos, VCR fonts, and call it a Windows version in 900 quinquagesima years in the future. Desktop. It's harder and time-consuming to make high-quality desktops, and Project Toy Terrier doesn't have desktop templates. OS Mockups Wiki. This wiki, created by historical virtual user, was the second most popular Windows never-released encyclopedia, except this wiki also heavily aimed for the information about Windows never-released community, and it also welcomes never-released operating system ideas. It was used as a quality controller in 2020 and as on-the-fly journalism in 2021. The stories of Windows never-released community. It looks like some novels already existing, my bad. Several incidents occurring in the community are documented either on Google Docs or on OS Mockups Wiki or on its clones. Worth reading some articles. Chromatic Eternus and Chromaticons. Chromatic Eternus is a Windows never-released content creator, appeared in 2017, despite discovering the community on the year prior. At the first year he made a Manderian Windows never-released series, not until he was involved on the conflict with Yatar, making his own community, different from Manderia's. His ideology, assets, and community is now known as Chromaticon. The major Chromaticons is Flunk, Philip Santucci, and whoever else that I forgot for good reason. Chromaticon his followers would be involved in several operating systems mockups collaboration, but they would be also involved in the conflicts, including but not limited to Windows mockups Cold War and the conflicts over Windows never-released wiki. And yes, they have their own kits, much like Manderians have to be precise. Chromaticons have Heathenite mockups kit and WHWNRV Update 7. The involvements of Yatar. God, why all the negativity comes from Yatar to the other users. Attacks to Windoxa 87, David, spy unclear, a bunch of users in 2019 to 2020. Guess there is another novel have been made about Yatar's antics right before this video has been made. Windows Server. Windows Server fan-made versions isn't everywhere on Windows concept videos, because who cares? Windows Server isn't the mainstream operating system family, unlike the client counterparts. But yet, it's not so rare, especially if it all would be compared to mobile Windows versions. Windows Infinity. Thanks by Manderia, one of his mockups was the most known in 2016, and it was Windows Infinity. This idea was about somewhat perfect future, an ultimate version, the supreme release. It was released either on 2025 or 2037. There would be also a true infinite version made on the year infinite. Or, surprisingly the version that would made beyond infinite years later. It's just on surface of futuristic Windows versions, so brace yourself before all of it comes. Discord servers other than Arrow community, you may end up registering on Discord and join some servers for the Windows never released fans like you. For example, Espism are Windows mockups oriented Discord server. Yes, OS mockups can enter Discord. Windows never released as in Windows history. Some can use Windows history with never released versions styled videos and call it Windows never released, but for most of the cases it's not a full alternate Windows history, but rather an alternate history of the selected Windows versions, like Windows 95 or Windows XP. That's how most of our CNE's Windows never released episodes works. Operating System Mockups. It's a name given for the compilation of fictional operating systems and their versions. In fact, it is Windows never released and never released operating systems merged. Only if these things would be better than the Windows never released videos in the WNR community. Oh snap! Manderian WNRS. You know the drill, what it means to be Manderian. Manderian videos, in common as Windows version setting, in nearly quintillion years forward, always use the same update 5 assets, robotic fonts and logos, and remixed sounds, borrowed from the Microsoft and other organizations. Sphere. It's a well-known Russian name behind the Russian, pirated and modified builds of Windows. Some of their Windows XP builds is iconic, like Windows XP's Vert 2007 and Vert 2009. They are still creating unlicensed builds. While it is cringy to see that happening, Sphere is one of the pioneers of the fake Windows versions. Wiki. These builds are also known as pirated Windows builds. I think you already seen some pirated builds with wacky effects, so there is no point to talk about them. Sliger. It's an popular fictional operating system, chosen by unclear in intention to battle against Windows-based operating system, namely PowerOS, Manderiaos and GMMOS. Once it was created for Google Docs just for fun, it got quickly flanderized by our CNE's fans back in late 2018. When Sliger Kit gets an official release on January 2019, it was used by prominent content maker Arson54800 and the other Arsenian and non-Arsenian content makers. Thanks by their influence, Sliger Kit Filia update includes far past and far future versions. Joke Windows ideas. We're talking about harmless mockups, not a hateful name-calling mockups. It can be an inside joke, a Windows-related jokes, or shitposting. Fiendism. Fiendism was the another popular Windows never-released maker, being popular in mid to late 10s, making OS mockups collection right where 2020 gets started. However, all of Fiendism's mockups got either privated or deleted. Fiendism's mockups got archived after being unavailable from the channel to the WNR/NROS archive channel S. OSM Plus. After the website of the initial OS mockups kit gets unavailable in October 2019, Operating System Mockups Kit Plus are released for Devi Entered. It has all parts of the former combined. According to the homepage, it is an official tool for software fiction and Windows mockups. Feel free to use it, and the Pro operating system mockups kit plus got forked a few times, and several more kits was created based of it. Operating system mockups kit plus itself getting updated a few times up to May 2020 update. Windows Doors. Microsoft Doors, or Windows Doors, is a primitive joke idea and harmless. Windows 100.09. You could recognize this idea as a 22th century Windows version made in 2119 and well known for its Manderian roots. Lack of help and tutorials. It's a big issue when much of WNR videos lacks tutorials. And what if you post mediocre Windows mockups? Grammatican people may not help you to make decent mockups, and some of them would make fun of these mockups. GMMOS. It was a Windows-based operating system until it was a half-Sliger half-Windows operating system. Alpha, this username operating system less popular than Manderia's, you can still see it on the YouTube, and it gets viewed a solid amount of times for the NROS community. Spanish users. Just like the Russians, Spanish-speaking people found their way on the community on which Windows never released community are diverse. Santucci, the logo editor, and Cazorson are known Spanish-speaking grammaticans. Leaked Windows builds as an inspiration of Windows never released ideas. Well, Windows Memphis, Whistler, and Longhorn found their way to the nostalgia-inspired videos. Nothing more to say. Rarity level 5, uncommon. The work, inspired from the other WNR content maker. Have you took other mockups as an inspiration? It's not so bad as long as you won't end up looking like Neptune Windows mockups, so please be original while getting inspired from any of us. Windows thanks. A trend that starts with Windows 8 and 7000 and would be continued by the Russians. Windows Phone accounts in common have bad quality mockups, however it feels like ironically made since 2019 thanks by the Russians. By now, it is unclear if some of Windows Phone accounts are parody accounts or the accounts made by Windows 8 and 7000. They are out of touch from the other parts of Windows never released community, as not every person has been yet understood the nature of these subjects. The last known Windows Phone subject named Windows Blue Delta FAN 2009 had 180 subscribers as of August 2021, and yet he had been involved in the conflict against Grammaticans, which was interesting to see. Another account named Windows 100.09 FAN 9999100 Cat is Dimadino's alt, on which the Windows 100.09 FAN 9999100 Cat account has been used for joke mockups, or Windows never released Raffle series. Fizzoxide. This person, also known as Glassword and Vistavan, used to make 6 Windows never released video and a single OS mockups video. Physoxide has joined the community in 2017, however getting quitted on 2019. Physoxide was responsible for development of OS mockups kit, being owner on it, as it was known as Windows mockups kit. Raids on Discord servers. It's never been good since raiders wasting their time, and it obviously makes damage. It have usually occurred during the major conflict, the wars or irregular conflicts of interests. There is more than 2 WNR or OSM wiki as the Windows Never Released community have Windows Never Released wiki. They have OS Mockups wiki, and both of the wiki have everything that you need to know. Windows Never Released wiki have thousands of Windows ideas, and OS Mockups wiki have information about the community. So what's the problem? The problem is neither of these wikis praises grammaticans enough, or doesn't praises them at all, outright criticizes them. So some people feel the need to make their own wikis, with blackjack and hookers. That's how the mockups wiki and Wikipedia has been made. Speaking of OSM wikis, there can be wikis revolving on the single person's mockups, like Arson54800WNR wiki, Manderia wiki, and wikis revolving on a fiction operating system, like the Russian language Slider wiki. Easter eggs. The Windows mockups can contain hidden messages and cultural references. On rare occasions, it may include the person someone liked to add on the login screens and desktops, or just a character, for example Conky the Conqueror and KDE Dragon, to be referenced on cluster fictional operating system. It can be funny to find Easter eggs on Windows mockups. Windows Never Released specials. It could be a big milestone specials, or it can be a videos where all of the ideas has been suggested by someone's followers. Windows Never Released as an rebooted series. There can be not only Windows Never Released series, but someone could make another Windows Never Released video, but one would call it WNR1, as if WNR72 didn't happen. The counter resets, the series is all new, it's a reboot. There was a few cases where someone's Windows Never Released gets rebooted. But there can be some cases where the branding of the mockups gets changed to the other one, like OS mockups, and the counter gets still dropped, and that's how the new series gets released. Spy unclear. Oh, hi. There's a lot of things being told about me. People on Discord talking about me, and even then, there's a page about me you'll find on OS Mockups Wiki. I am a creator of operating system Mockups Kit Plus, Slider with a said Slider Kit contents, Cluster, Idea Generator OS, Memphizos, several other operating systems, Project, Toy Terrier, Windows Mockups What and How, and the owner of Espism. I also own OS Mockups Wiki, Hardware Mockups Kit and Windows Never Released Store Remote Excelish Conception. Time errors or post-infinite Windows versions 900 quinquagentisescimillion years is never enough to express the longevity of Windows, as someone's Windows idea are far ahead to its time. For example, Windows Upper Order could be released on 100,000 pulse, or Windows Subvertive, scheduled to be released on 1U to the 10th power to the 10th power to the 23th power. ATE XTH of X and 2EX layers of eternity. What would happen if Googology style would be integrated with Windows never released? RX are credited for starting a trend of the fictional time eras for Windows. There, ATE gets introduced for the community. There, XTH of X gets introduced, on which it was superior to ATE by the longevity, which was later recalled as the second layer of eternity. On rare occasions, the other eras may get involved in more layers of eternity, like XCME++, XMX, SNUX, and more things, gets in the party of the fictional time eras. To make things more confusing, XEX gets in the way of XTH of X, and Manderians are forced to use XEX instead of XTH of X as far back as on 2019, and the N era are used as far back as 2018. Let me say more things about it all in math section or exist to explain the eras. However, the explanations were poor, and not even Windows never released store remote Excelish conception tutorial saves it all, as some of us has been thinking. What does Y3 plus W 2 plus X1 means excuse for text-to-speech and what does in 2 plus X1 plus N plus X1 means. Ultimately, nobody used it all since people stopped making Manderia and Windows mockups, and all switched to legacy or operating system mockups kit plus mockups. Animated loop screen and desktop. Most of Windows mockups are static, but some can do more. Some can make it on living format, and thus the animations over loop screens and desktops can be created. PowerPoint or Adobe softwares has been used for the animated loop screens. As an example, see Mockups OS Mockups 7 included 2 animated Windows mockups. DOS and Linux mockups. DOS mockups are usually for DOS distributions made prior to the new millennium, like MS-DOS or EAGLE-DOS. Linux distributions can be portrayed as the operating systems made after 1991. WNR archives. This is the YouTube channel's purposing to find the lost videos and make them publicly available. Usually, these channels have to re-upload taken down videos from legacy or retired Windows never released creators. WNR archive channels are vulnerable from copyright trolling, as owning or administrating these channels is a dangerous job. Thus it is very important to keep the history safe place within the community, especially since 2019. Communities other than Manderian, Chromatican and Arsenian. We already have 3 major communities within OS mockups or Windows never released community. Arrow Discord server can be considered Arrowian. There can be more smaller communities within, just more personal ones, or revolving on less recognizable kits and assets. GMM. Initially I put it in on level 6 until he made growth in popularity. He make a good OS mockups, and that is interesting. He also collecting sounds from the early 00s and 10s smartphones. Windows never released X. This project is an upcoming for SpyUnclear's Windows never released or OS mockups series. It is stated to be released after SpyUnclear gets 1,000 plus subscribers 14 days in a row. Rarity level 6, rare. Deviancy. What if someone don't want to be Manderian, Chromatican and Arsenian and wanted to promote activism, equal rights, and diversity? The deviants are mentioned on the terms of trading, codenamed war terms, as to refer non-Chromatican OS mockups community members. Hateful Windows mockups. You have been known about the joke mockups, but what about the harmful mockups? Hateful mockups aimed to the person should be a topic of the future videos, to teach how it is wrong. We're living on the age of the acceptance of political correctness, and the hate mockups are just wrong. The hate mockups are generally used during the wars. On rare occasions they are made for the local conflicts. A generic hate mockup is the tip of the iceberg, as things we're about to talk would get worse. The usage of Manderia sounds on Apple Explained's evolution of Windows sounds. Apple Explained made the Every Windows Startup and Shutdown Sound video on July 10, 2020. This video contains the familiar Windows never released sounds of Windows 1.0 and Windows 3.0. It recognized as the sounds used for Windows history with never released versions videos. It's messed up. Apple Explained should stick with Apple News and Technology, as Microsoft's operating system is not their best researched topic, but the mistakes are barely noticeable by many of their fans. The music of Windows Expert's WMR series, it gets hated by a lot due to it being a bad quality MIDI music. It wasn't a good idea to compile a music that way. Windows never released as a service. How about a nice few mockups per week, and you won't have to wait a big time for it? We would receive 100 views, and you can get a Windows mockups. That way, some people posted mockuptober screens, we posted mock-April, I did teased Silverthou. In that way, and Windows never released Nano series has been released in that way. OS Mockups column. The Spionclears OS Mockups column, OS Mockups column 2021-22 edition, and any person's Windows never released collaborations is the process of two or more users working together to create the operating system mockups video. If several peoples are working on Windows never released Yautja video project, it usually can be called a column. Spionclear's first column has been released on November 20, 2020 at 11 o'clock UTC on 4K 30 FPS. 8 persons has been contributed to this OS mockups, and there were 100 mockups has been submitted on there. Copyright claims for re-uploading WMRs. WMR archive channels are not only vulnerable to copyright trolling as you have been told before, but to copyright claims in general, as owning or administrating these channels is a dangerous job. At least one archive channel has been taken down because of some copyright claims. Arson54800's channel failed a victim of copyright claims because of Santukio's videos. DMCA10. The MCA-10 is presumably a personification of Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or in the case of our community, a personification of the people who uses the breaches on YouTube copyright and fair use policies or successfully submitting copyright takedown requests at their favor, which the goals may be for profit influence, or to attempt to vary the content and hide them from the general availability and the viewers. The MCA-10 would report anyone who uploads archive contents without her permission, as it would result with video takedown. And if she would successfully report content 3 times or more, the victim's channel would end up to be terminated. Since the work for archived channels is hard and unaffordable, and the channels with harder works may fail victim of the MCA-10 or people's portrait as such, Windows never released are fearing her. The term of the MCA-10 presumably created by a logo editor as a slang for the people who copyright claiming Windows never released videos. The logo editor. Speaking of him, this guy is the mixed Manderia and legacy Windows never released content creator who made 26 or 27 Windows never released episodes. Because of the involvement of Windows Mockups Cold War or archived channels, Windows never released 26 were in the development on 6 months, or still is on development. Dramas. It's the minor conflicts involving 2 or 3 users on one Discord server, unlike that infamous drama, also known as the Cold War, showing up. On rare occasions, it can be on the chat of the other platform, usually on YouTube and the deceased Google Plus social site. Wars. 1 fight is a randomness, 10 fights are a coincidence, but wherein hundreds and more fights on Discord are happening, you know it's a war and a law of the major conflicts. Not every war comes declared, as many modern warfare can be started unannounced. It is a big issue of every community. It is an issue for the Windows never released community. One of the short-lasted war was Tartarian-Arsenian War, as a war between 2 Tartar and Arsen 54800 and their followers appeared on August 2018. The early known trivial war was Aryans-Mandarians War, because of the combo reasons of Mandarian mockups being bad quality and filled with cartoon ideas, with Arrow community Discord server members presumably being elitists. That war was all over 2018, following the betrayal of Mandarians by Santucci and Fiatar, who were known as Anglistman World Spirit. Tartar made an active role for Mandarians on the war, and the war is revolving on the said characters. Fizoxide tried to mitigate Aryans-Mandarians War, as Act 5207 defended Fizoxide with little to no success. Aryans-Mandarians War was ended in June 13, 2018. No known major conflicts after Tartarian-Arsenian War has been happened prior to the bootleg incident between ATE with 2nd of X users and 2EX users on February 2019, on which NSFL Media Tactics has been used for it. On mid-2019, an unnamed war between Spy Unclear and Chromatic has been sparked involving several peoples. It is one of few monitored wars to preserve for the future generations. On the same time, the war between Chromaticans and Mandarians has been sparked. At that drama, Chromatic's followers are established as people who are different than Mandarians. The recent war is named Windows Mockups Cold War. Windows Mockups Cold War. Windows Mockups Cold War is the major conflict involving Chromaticans and Mandarians over OS Mockups Wiki, Discord and YouTube. Conflicts on this war took place on Chromiverse, the mockups server, then to be reappeared on Polonium, Espism sought discourse. The beginning of this war wasn't known, as it was speculated to be sparked in a few moments before Spionclear was kicked from Chromiverse after several server channels was deleted, as it was claimed as an merge, as Spionclear in a May 2021 piece period supporting that claim, but then, when the conflict reappeared 28 days later, admitted he didn't want it to hurt Santucci's or Chromatic's egoism. It was also speculated this conflict rising when Santucci disallowed joke ideas on the mockups server. He met with criticism from Spionclear, and because of that, Santucci warned Spionclear over that criticism. As time came, Spionclear was banned from the mockups server. This event presumably sparking the first major conflict. That's not a full story of Windows mockups Cold War, but it's a tip of the iceberg of its own, as you can search about this war simply by searching it on OS mockups wiki. As later I would recall, it was began on September 2020, and its end isn't known by this video. Santucci. He's known by disturbing the peace on 2020 in a wrong time, in a wrong place, in a wrong condition, starting by the Windows mockups Cold War against Spionclear. In the same period, the conflict against Phenoxide was sparked. On his former fanbus, he was known by 70 of his WNR episodes, on which he called it now as Legacy I, and barely known for Legacy II, and 2021 OS mockups video S, as now he's known for being Chromatican. Retired Windows never released makers. Yeah, some people getting bored exists. Some users who served for our community for a long time may lose their motivation to make videos and quit the community, keep the videos or hide them, and so the earlier said scenarios can occur. It's nothing much we could do, as they may come with excuses to quit. Windows NT5 modification. I don't sure why this entry exists. Maybe I'm thinking about Windows NT 5.0 EUR edition, on which has been developed since 2003 by Windows EUR Group. As it is a fan-made Windows edition, it can fail into Windows never released area. Maybe if I could find late 10's fan-made Windows NT 5.0 build, I could tell what it is. Manderia sucks. He's not only have his original operating system, but an original characters. Have fun with him, as his characters' names are Udrakite Stormer for Google+, Red, James, Falco, Connie Middleton, Andy the Core, Maddie Lee Raven, Ashley Purtle, Sydney Middleton, Blackrow, Crystal, Houston, Bruce, hell yeah. April Fool's specials. Would it be nice to get a break from over-realistic works and lame ideas, or to get a rickroll? On April 1 of every year, Windows never released content can make clickbait WNR videos as an April Fool's special, as long as it is not offensive to other users. Project Toy Terrier. OS Mockups Wiki got a page out of this, so we're again going to stick to the source. Project Toy Terrier WNR Pack that are stands for a solution for WNR community. It is called by Spionclear as a revolution. Its feature stands for realize, kerning, support, advance, communicate. Released in 18 August 2019 under an insider preview. Its slogan, creating WNR easier, is on DeviantArt. 7, extremely rare. War denial. Some influences trying to minimize the appearance of the obvious problems with the communities, hide the fact of a big conflict within it. It is a big issue, and the Windows never released element of the COVID denial. WNR Marvel Race. Once upon a time there was a Marvel race over Windows, never released community, and it is unfinished. So there was no winner still on this. One of its episodes caused an several months long conflict. OS Mockups Column 2021-22 edition. This version of OS Mockups Column was advertised only after the initial version of the stages of WNR Rarity was published. As the second event was announced, following the reveal on March 2021, it had 2 trailer videos in May, and it's scheduled to be released on September. Linux for OSM creation. What? Are we hosting Linux for OS Mockups? We have free and open source software for Linux that we can use for OS Mockups. Propaganda on community. This usually comes from the mockups wiki and several unpopular YouTube channels, as only small amount of people would make false news and glorify their masters. The propaganda within Windows never released became a big issue since the introduction of community tabs for YouTube and following the population of Discord. Arrow Community Revival. There was some information that Arrow Community got revived on 2020, as it is unclear what it was or if it really existed. The return of JNJ22. JHJ22 rediscovered Windows never released community by joining Discord server. His Discord identity was shortly available on the community tab of YouTube as an confirmation. It always happened on 2020, as he had yet to discover what was the community of 2020. Due to the changed culture of the community, the practices that has been contributed for never released Windows versions now are considered as stealing, and if it would happen on 2020, people would hate videos with a mirror of pictures. Alternate future of Windows. There was some videos that can be named Windows After 10 and Windows After 11 for modern videos. Wikis. This term was coined by an infamous person. Let's just say don't trust Manderia, because he could share your information with others. Several videos, documents and Discord accounts were affected for mere name sharing. And that's it. You thought there wasn't any weak boys on our community? Google Docs. It was widely used for some statistics, Mandarian concept, and the whole Windows never released community history. Nowadays, Wiki has replaced Google Docs for the information. Clusters fan-made future versions. Fan-made version has been made by TLE just because cluster didn't have versions after 2025. Windows never released Marathon. It is an several hours long series about Arson 54800's Windows never released series. It probably got 10,000 views before Arson 54800's account gets taken down. Once it was known, but it's now forgotten. Its continuation and episode 6 and 7 was released on Spy Unclear channel as it outlived Arson 54800's former account. Gilded servers. It was an short-lived trend to host and monitor gilded servers, caused by fears of Discord getting sold to Microsoft. The fears has been proven to be false as Discord did not gotten interested to be sold. Windows never released community has been made several gilded servers during the fear. Date on period. It was happened on May 10, 2021, thanks by the terms and conditions are treating grammaticans during Windows mockups Cold War, as it generally suggests to ignore grammaticans and their attempt to make damage to some other users. Sometimes later, an event that was called Peace was occurred, lasting only 28 days or so, making the time period of one of the early efforts to end Windows mockups Cold War. This symbol is unpronounceable for the 2000s text-to-speech program, but it is means-dick and some Windows never released trolls using it. It's like the N-word for Windows never released community. It started as just an profanity given by the Russians that gets its way to the Windows jokes ideas, also known as raffle ideas. Not until it gets used for hate purposes, as it gets its way to the spy unclear's haters. And you guessed it, it is hate promoted against spy unclear and other users, mocking avatars, assets, names, as this symbol slowly descends to a hate symbol, as grammaticons are attributed for remaking this symbol's meaning. Storage channel spy unclear. It is an secondary spy unclear's Yacha account, as it only have 30 subscribers. This account used to post patchy videos. Now it's posting random videos right now. Drama. Thanks by the efforts of war denial, the drama term was coined for Windows mockups Cold War by one of the nations, but it wasn't known who coined the drama term. It is known as a meme within the Windows never released community. Alternatively calling within OS mockups community and the hotspots of the communities. Drama became a meme causing by miscalling the ongoing conflicts. If someone would call any big conflict drama, one would be ridiculed with a question, which rarity level 8, next to impossible. Hard to find Easter eggs. That's what it calls for, the Easter eggs that is hard to find. Is it easy catch the secret messages out of images, sounds and files? Sonata. It was an semi-secret project to oversee the other spy unclear's projects, like OS mockups. Windows never released X, OS mockups column 2021, 22 edition, and so on. What it was truly as, and why it is abandoned, who knows? 10000 views on videos. It's not really hard to see any WNR videos with such views, but it is hard to get so many views. That's why it is next to impossible to get 10,000 views for a single Windows never released video. Kanki. He's a KDE dragon, and he was forced to the web Windows never released community. You can rarely see his references, but The references are on cluster operating system boot screens and operating system mockups kit plus. The involvement to Linux community development, well, not really, unless you count creating shitty Ubuntu, Linux, Mint and Manjaro fan-made builds as the involvement to their community. I wonder if Vlad would just join Ubuntu development team instead making recolors. But maybe Windows never released community didn't outgrow Windows mockups Cold War and just busy pushing Firestar. TV95 devs, CSOSM community. Nice graphics, great Windows concepts, and even macOS gets its interesting counterpart. Even Windows betas gets involved on Progress Bar 95. The recent cool feature, Progress Bar MOD, it was a generator of fan-made Progress Bar versions for us. We can create our own Progress Bar version. Given an Windows never released nature of Progress Bar 95, it's no way the developers didn't see Windows never released videos. We also created Progress Bar 95 never released videos, so these videos could've get their attention. Never released Windows version 5. If never released Windows version 4 was available for short amount of time, and that video are considered as lost media, then it's weird to see never released Windows version 5 video. The question is, why, in case of JHJ22, getting the 5th never released Windows version video to be released, and how, in case of does even gonna be released? Is it possible for it to be released? Was it have been released but got hidden afterwards? It is speculated that he's considered to remake never released Windows version after the episode 4 got criticized. Windows history with never released versions. Update 5, revision to the point is not because everyone know it, but rather could it get released after all? It was scheduled to be released on May 21, 2020, then to be postponed to April 24, 2021, then to be postponed to May 2021, then to be postponed to June 2021, then just to not declare and delayed release date during the following month. This is why this update are unlikely to happen. Third version of Slider Kit. There is a little of information of what the third version of Slider Kit would be released. All what it has been done is a forward compatibility of slider kit filia update. Spy unclear are busy for Windows never released X, so it is unlikely for slider kit to be updated on 2021. Ability for Yatar to regain his former glory. It's unlikely to regain 1.5 thousand subscribers after the termination. But Yatar cheated his way to the 1,000 subscribers by simply requesting to control one of GMM's accounts. And yes, Yatar uses Community tab for the usual atrocities. Rarity level 9, legendary. Vita collector. He's finding unusual Windows betas, prototypes, and other pre-releases. How he ended up to be here, by the way. Freeze. It is a rare operating system not everyone knows about, but BSD as a whole may have been shown on OS mockups and never released operating systems. The movie out of WNR. I don't know if a movie out of WNR exists. I don't know. Maybe I'll find out if any future movies would be on the way. Chromatics OSM 50 doesn't count. Only 4 minutes of the cutscenes, and they look bad. One of the movies are maybe under Spy Unclear's channel. Project 28. Nobody knows what it actually is. Maybe it's a movie stuff. Maybe just a plans for Windows never released Community of 2028. Maybe it's a slider stuff. Or maybe it's a Sonata stuff. Again, it's not known by men. It was quickly mentioned on Spy Unclear Event 2021. The JHJ22's documentary about WNR cult. One of JHJ22's promising when he got to the mockups server was to make a documentary about Windows never released Community. I wonder what's the progress of the documentary. Microsoft's involvement. Do we have to remind you we're on the war? Microsoft aren't interested on our community. Except maybe a few employees could watch some of our videos. In such bad conditions, Microsoft wouldn't be involved to our community if legal challenges doesn't count as the involvement. But it would be nice if Microsoft could give us some never-seen-before assets. Windows Aesthetic. The Twitter account at Windows posts operating system assets. It is usually Windows wallpapers or an Android phone wallpapers. It also posts desktops, graphics, some stuff. Oxide is an owner of that account. Daydream Lucidos. It's an revolutionary, easy-to-use, understandable operating system, open-sourced, packaged on compact disc, and pretty great. It's a never-released operating system idea. I am a champion. According to the story, Daydream Lucidos was never made into the release, but the music files on it got leaked into public. The music found its way to Bandcamp on January 29, 2020. Problem. Probably it wasn't been a political or non-Western friendly Discord server. It suffered from gender bashing and Russophobia, also known as xenophobia towards Russians. There's no unholy stuff's happening on Windows never-released community, but then here we are. Broadcom was used as a part of Windows mockups Cold War, and members of this server was engaged on that said part, mostly between Theatar, Chromatic and Spy unclear. Hate channels and chats. Who's surprised, considering it being an issue of every communities? Name a few communities that doesn't suffering from Discord and YouTube channels created for the purposes of promoting hate. We dare you. The issue are always alarming, especially when Windows mockups Cold War sparked. We're not going to point out some channels and their owners, because the information is internal. Splatoon and insanity. One of the Windows never released community members wanted to create the anime set to be released on 2030. Let's see how it goes. But we don't thinking it would go well, especially if it costs a main channel with 500 subscribers. The nature of teasing the Splatoon anime suggests it would be a poor performance. Horror OS mockups. It is either Halloween specials with the Halloween themed Windows ideas, or straight up shock valued Windows mockups videos. /shop. Dear God, if these communities would be a part of OSM community, it would end not well. North Korea all was used to as part of UTTP, so we knew what would happen. Windows never released is a lie. Spending months or years for a single episode, delaying projects because of COVID-19, being involved on conflicts on which it gets escalated to a civil war, getting a job for some other members or the Federation out of Discord server. It's certainly an emulation of life. Or maybe it is a life, and we do an everyday activity on the world Windows never released community really is. The characters out there aren't self-aware as they're denying the possibility of Windows never released being alive. Maybe someday we'll find out if the Windows never released community is our lives, or just an emulation of social activity made by a bunch of kids. Manderia's WNR20 is fake. What if the continuation of the outdated style that was presented on Windows Never Released 20 is an social experiment, and the video as it was on June 2021 is fake Windows Never Released 20? If so, when could the real WNR20 get released? And will he use pure OSMK plus assets, or just random stuff? The piece lasted 10 days. How did it got lasted 4 weeks if the war still got its ways as far as the same month it ended? Windows mockups Cold War is sure an shocking experience. But what about the clue that weird experience ended in 10 days and they're still on the war? But on off-topic note, please, grammaticans, consider not fucking things up as always, and don't make mistakes that got the piece last 28 days or less. We are working for Microsoft at no revenue in mid-July 2008. Microsoft made an advertising campaign promoting Windows Vista, their failing operating system. This campaign, called Module Experiment, presumably Windows Vista Service Pack 1 recolor on a compatible PC with everything set up. It goes pretty well. What if Microsoft made another experiment back in the same year and continue it even today? Some guys working at it since 2012 before they retire from that job. Microsoft may be actively investing on the artistic concepts of Windows, known by our circle as Windows Never Released, and operating system mockups as the active investment has been started in 2015. Microsoft are a poor social manager of that job, as they don't care about heatings and wars within our community, and all they care about is glorification of Windows product. We're working for Microsoft Microsoft to advertise Windows, but we doing that at no revenue. Maybe Manderia and grammatic and mockups explains why we do that for nothing. The most recent Windows advertisement is the grammatic and OS mockups 50, on which it's showing one of the future of Windows, as we recall it as typical Mandarian, possible and pre-release version of Update 5 Revision 2. Neptune 98 is cheesy Mayu. There is no idea why cheesy Mayu thinks TN invented Neptune 98 as cheesy Mayu didn't have the old Windows never released series to prove the point. The only coincidence was cheesy Mayu making mockups in 2012, 2013. Igramani Windows never released. There was an Windows never released series created in 2015, 2017, and made by an ambitious QNW. The series was hosted on Igramani Wiki, rest in peace Igramani, and not very much known by you. This Windows never released text-based thing was then revealed by Unclear on the one of his videos. Take a guess who knew about the series. WNR, not safe for work mockups. Admit that you did accepted inappropriate mockups to come. The Trinity social experiment. You telling that Trinity is someone's salt every day, but you never told why Trinity is a Trinity. Is this some kind of an social experiment led by content creators? Does it researching us? Is it everywhere? There's nothing anyone could do than blame Spy Unclear and Santucci over the Trinity. Kevin Whitey is the true leader of WNR community. he gained 500 subscribers pretty quickly, and he's possibly a peacemaker. What if he's truly the leader of Windows never released community? We prefer not to talk about that, but we knew Kevin Whitey would be the leader of the community. We can see that coming by a single Windows mockups gaining 150 views. Unclear are superior to other members of WNR community. Everyone's talking about Unclear all of a sudden. It may be caused by Unclear's advantage to the others' Windows never released content creators. Unclear is always mentioned in some situations many times. Some people made a hate club following. Another thing defining such an superpower and domination to the all community scale is the ecosystem OS mockups series, OS mockups wiki, OS mockups kit plus, OS mockups column, hardware mockups kit. The 3 years old, never released operating system idea that is still mainstream. People still trying to make mockups out of Slider and Unclear made operating systems on which probably PowerOS is the only powerful competitor to Slider. Unclear's 2 videos is the thing people are checking when they'll try to search Windows never released videos. And yes, Windows never released Marathon was compiled by him. Grammaticans trying to dethrone Unclear when Windows mockups Cold War have been sparked, but yet they failing to do that. They still have a chance to do that on August 2021. Thought. Upsilon secret organization to control the WNR community. Nobody knew about the Upsilon because weren't supposed to know about it, obviously. All we know is this organization is somehow controlling the community. We know it's the people who don't want to be controlled would usually deny the existence of Epsilon, or would think someone who are talking about the specific thing is a thing itself. OS mockups was an project of big data as an social experiment. Microsoft could do the stuff that caused OS mockups community to exist. Who knows if the other big players are responsible for the experiment too. By that, we meaning Apple, Amazon, Google, and Facebook too might be responsible alongside Microsoft for the experiment OS mockups community to be really are. Does it make the community less interesting? No. That makes every operating system personalized, as it is more safer to let selected people to imagine the utopic operating system and draw the user interface of it, then implement the telemetry on which OS consumers would complain. The chimerical Linux distributions could win the concept suit our heads. Just continue working on your operating system mockups so they can make the best operating system.